Our expert panelists joining us today are Dr. Richard Palmquist, integrative veterinarian and owner of Centinela Animal Hospital. He's an author, lecturer, and teacher. Dr. Christina Chambreau, internationally known homeopathic veterinarian, lecturer, and teacher. Joan Ranquet, animal communicator, teacher, author, lecturer, and owner of Communication with All Life University. And Brendan Golia, professional pet trainer, behavior expert, and owner of OC Canine Coaching. Welcome to Smart Pet Talk. I'm your host, Anna DeVere. We are so excited to be joined by Dr. Cheryl Schwartz. Dr. Schwartz is an international educator, holistic veterinarian, healing connector, author, and founding member of the American Holistic Veterinarian Medical Association. Today we are going to discuss her book, Four Paws Five Directions. Welcome, Dr. Schwartz. What an honor and a privilege to have you joining us today. I would like to ask you, can you start off by telling us what the book Four Paws Five Directions is referring to?
Yes, it's referring to, first, hi, thank you, and I'm so glad to be here. Dr. Chambreau, Christina, my buddy for a long time, told me about this show, and I wasn't aware of it before, and you have some amazing people on, so thanks for including me. Four Paws Five Directions is a book that I wrote back in 1996. It was 5 years in the making. And it was a book to talk about Chinese medicine and animals. So the four paws are the animals who stand on four legs with their paws. And the five directions are the five directions of Chinese medicine. And that would be fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And it's all about how to integrate Chinese medicine with your animal friends. And Chinese medicine has been here for thousands of years, and so have our animals. So I felt it was really good to put it together.
Thanks for doing that, Cheryl. I think you've changed the lives of more people, with this book, because Chinese medicine is oftentimes difficult for people to comprehend. And you've done such of making the subject more user-friendly and transferring those 3,000, 2,000-year-old terms, things like what is earth, to more conventional terminology which people speak now, and then clarifying things like earth is the spleen organ, which is to do with digestion and immunity. And I think when we start to get that stuff taken care of, it helps a lot. In my own instance, I had trouble with Chinese medicine because I couldn't get the word qi defined. And it took me about 10 years before I could actually get a definition that was better than, well, qi is qi. It's like energy, but it's like I wanted a bottle of USP qi that I could put in the laboratory and research. And it was a long time before I really grasped that qi was actually talking about really the quality of energy and the energy production system that is a lot of times the mitochondria, and the things we describe as qi tonics that benefit the qi are actually things that make the mitochondria work better. And we now have research that only took me 3,000 years to figure that out before I could study the thing. But your book made it so friendly. Like Joan's copy was actually written on papyrus. The pages are all falling out. So, we all know the book. We love the book. And I think you've probably had a journey that's more than just Chinese medicine now, because Chinese medicine sort of opens the door to the universe of life and relationship. And I think you're doing more than just the book at this point.
Oh, way more. And thank you, Rick. It's when you talk about qi, it's not just the mitochondria in our body, but it's the mitochondria of our environment. So it's the mitochondria in the water, it's the mitochondria in the wind, it's the mitochondria in the storms. And it's all about how everything out there is part of us and everything inside is part of it. And it's a way of connecting. So for me, qi is the energy of connection. And
I like that. I should have talked to you a long time ago.
That makes
The,
it
la-
easy.
the last time that I saw Dr. Schwartz was I'd just been installed as the president of the AHVMA, and we were weathering a hurricane together in a hotel in Durham.
Oh my God, I
So,
remember that.
do you remember? And
Yes,
she was literally standing behind me with her hands on my adrenal glands, supporting me in the midst of this complete chaos that was going on. So she's done that for a lot of us.
So the thing, you know, I have recommended this book to every time I've been speaking, teaching a course, clients, because you, as Rick said, made it so understandable for people. And there are sort of three parts to the book, and then you've added this energy level to it.
Mm-hmm.
But number one, you talk about Chinese medicine and introduce the breadth of it without getting into too many details. I could actually understand it. And then you have you have the acupuncture points with beautiful pictures. And then the third part of the book, you delve into what most people come from, which is my dog has diarrhea, what do I do? My cat is coughing, what do I do? And you not only talk about the Chinese medicine, but you go into some Western herbs and food and how to think about it. And then now to layer on the energy level to it as well is beautiful. So I just, the book is beautiful, but I think what you want to be talking today is how can people use the book, but also use energy thinking to heal specific more importantly, to prevent specific problems.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Chambreau. Can I call you Christina because you're my friend? Okay.
Please.
Don't call me Christina.
Anyhow, what I'd like to talk about is what the animals have taught me over these last 3 years of the pandemic that's still ongoing, although receding in the background, and basically how Chinese medicine really relates to the energy field. So for so many years, I've looked at the way the blood flows in the body, the way the organs flow in the body, the muscle chains, the nerves, and integrated that with Chinese medicine. And so that I can see as an animal starts walking toward me, if they're walking a certain way, which energy pathway is implicated. And energy pathways are called meridians or channels. And you can think about it as rivers that go through your body. You could also think about it as breezes that go through your body. So it's not only the blood and the muscles and the fluids and the lymph and the nerves, but it's also what pushes all of this stuff along and how it relates to the other organ systems that it passes by. And during these last 3 years, when I have been unable to see my patients in person, I started to do video sessions with them. And with that, I started to understand the energy fields because I was speaking with the human, their animal, and the energies. And the humans and me and the animal would synchronize to move energies and to do healings. And when you're doing that, we enter an energy field, you and her and me and the universe. And we have a conversation. It's kind of like Reiki. I don't call it anything. I call it remote or distant Qigong. So distant energy work.
Okay.
But you can call it anything. What it is an interaction or a connection through the energy fields with your animal friend.
Wow.
And each of us, if you just want to rub your hands together, the old chi trick or tree trick, depending on, and then slowly move your hand away and see if you can feel. And this is chi. This is the energy field that surrounds you. And Joan, when you talk wonderfully about the chakras with the horses, that's what we feel with the horses, of course, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's the interaction that goes on all of the time. So we're not just our physical bodies, but we're the many bodies outside of it. And the fact that you tell me that your dog had liver issues when she was young, what happens is our memories are held in the fields around the animals, just like in the fields around us. So even if there's not an actual physical thing that's happening right now, the memory of it is still in the field. So you really want to address that. And you can address it really easily by just moving the energy. The Chinese believe that discomfort and stagnation or tumor growths or things you don't want will happen when the energy stops flowing. So if you keep things moving, then the energy doesn't flow. If you keep things moving, the energy flows and worse things don't happen.
And it's interesting to me that when we talk about that stagnation, the whole identity of a person as a physical body that extends out to the buttons of the shirt and no further, that's such an isolationist view that it actually causes the energy to stop, because you don't think it's your energy. It doesn't go anywhere, but just like in your mouth, in your nose, and out your mouth, in your nose, in your mouth, out your butt. That's there's so much more to chief the energy exchange in the universe than that. And the proof of that is that when we deal with it, we see things happen. And it's really common in acupuncture and chiropractic and alternative body work to have somebody touch an area or put their hand over an area and have a person just break down crying and run out some old memory. These things are they happen to us on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
So this is such cool work that you're demonstrating today. Thank you.
And I would like to ask about, how do you feel about what happened in COVID is a lot of times people were dropping their animals off at the veterinarian office versus what you were doing, where you were working with the animal and their person, because the person's nervous system is part of the heartbeat of the animal. And so what kind of an effect did that have on people and animals to be separated at such a crisis point?
You just answered your own question, Joan.
Yeah.
It's been really hard, and it's still not fixed. That everybody with COVID, so many people were so attached to their animals, because sometimes when we were in our houses, that's who our family was. Sometimes it wasn't another human, sometimes it was an animal. And the relationship became so together that it's hard to separate. And there's been a lot of interaction. I'm sure you've seen that in training, in all of the things that are going on. And the veterinarians on their sides have felt it also. They really missed out on having the humans there, because the animal's human is an intro to what's going on with the animal. And to see the animals without their people made it twice as hard for the docs.
And we dealt with that. We actually dealt with that in our practice by actually talking to people about the fact that they were bigger than the car, and that the love that they had was actually not something that was limited by mass, energy, space, and time. That all they had to do is be present with the pet. And that, we almost never have to sedate animals that we're working on in our practice. The animals are calmer. And that's one of the things that we want people to understand, is that they can be there even if their physical body can't be. And that's a big reach for people initially, but when they discover how to do it, it makes a huge difference. Like for dogs that get panicky when their owners go on trips, they can go to the hotel room and sit on the bed and connect with their animal. And then the animal's like, oh, I thought she was gone. She's not gone. She's fine. She's okay. And then they don't have to be tranquilized, and they don't have to have some of these things. And people laugh about that when you talk about it, that haven't made the connection. But once they make the connection, there's no arguing with it. First time I did this, I was forced to do it. I had a really special person whose dog became sick while I was lecturing at the AHVMA meeting, and I couldn't be there to help her. And I knew I needed to do hands-on work. And so every time I would stop lecturing, I would just check in with her. And I called the lady later and I said, this is what I did today. And she started laughing. She goes, I knew you were doing this because I wrote down the times that she would lay down and stretch out and then moan and then stop moaning and then go back to sleep. And the times were the exact breaks at the conference every time that I worked on that dog. And that was, for me, what gave me the scientific evidence, right? The empirical evidence that I was there. I felt it. I thought I was doing it, but I didn't know if I was hallucinating it or it was a bad mushroom rekindling, you know. But actually, you know, the times were exactly on the times that I worked. And I never told her I was going to work on the dog because I'd never done that before. And I think that's just, you know, we have to make this more common knowledge and less mystical, you know.
It's quantum healing. It's basically quantum healing.
I mean, I'll tell you, I don't have a lot of personal experience with this type of energy. I know you guys are, when I get presented with energy, it's usually because somebody on TV for the past 20 years has described everything behaviorally as some reflex from the energy that's out there, or your energy is off, your dog's energy is off, and it's undefinable, it's mysterious, and it doesn't help my clients, you know, for behavior. I'm not practiced in this stuff. I think that's really it. I've tried a few things with, you know, Chinese medicine, and but I guess when I'm looking at things a little bit differently, and that's just because that's what I've done for a long time, and it served me pretty well. I don't discredit any of this. I just say that I just don't have enough experience in it with what I do on a daily basis to really notice. I notice the behaviors you're seeing, but I tie them to more of other behaviors or other circumstances in the environment, and they might have the same meaning, and it may not. They may be the same. The energy might be the same because it is tied to a behavior. I don't know.
Brendan, have you ever felt, I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Cheryl. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to ask you, when you have an aggressive dog that you're dealing with training, how close do you get to that dog initially? And obviously it'll depend on the dog.
I really allow the dog to make most of those decisions unless I feel threatened. So yeah, I don't make any overt postures to it doesn't help. I'm really trying to learn about the animal first and what they want. So I'm pretty comfortable until they tell me, and it may be a combination of different behaviors like a stare, the body language, pressure. I mean, there's a secondary, like, I don't feel good about this moment. Something's off, a gut feeling, which may be something we're talking to here. And I go with those. I trust those feelings. And I trust the animals a lot. And so I think that's how I interpret things.
So that is, I'm sorry, Jen, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I want to hear you, but pressure is energy.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's everything that happens in training is replicated from the wild or our own circumstance, and we interpret it as pressure, but it is really the energy that they're dealing with each other.
I guess maybe the pressure I was speaking to is an inherent sense of risk that I see with certain behaviors, that the consequences are going to change quickly if something isn't changed. So if a dog is staring at me at 6 inches at my crotch level for too long, then I need you to you know, talk to your dog and remove them very carefully and
definitely
slowly.
cover your crotch.
You know, yeah, basically like slide the binder down in front of that I'm writing, or my iPad or something like that. But it's, I guess I think it's just an innate sense and just a practice that I've seen, and or anxious dogs. I mean, they have a lot of emotion. They're big feeling dogs a lot of times. And so, yeah, I guess I don't have enough experience to say, you know, or to relate as much as you guys do. And I would love to. I actually just bought your book on Amazon. So I will be learning more about what you've written down in all of your teaching. So I'm interested in that going forward.
So, well, thank you, Brenda. I don't know how much that has in it about the energy stuff. I haven't read the book in a long time. But what you're describing to me is an energy field that you innately pick up because you're so familiar with the animals. And we're calling it different things. Our vocabulary is different.
It typically is, a vocabulary labeling system generally is where we get into conflict with a lot of these things. And I think some of the things are that I haven't found it necessary yet. And I think that's where a lot of this openness and acceptance needs to come from. In every one of these newer age ideas, we always seem to be very accepting when other things aren't working well enough. And then we're like, why have I been doing this the whole time? And so it might just be that is, I haven't run out of enough other resources to try yet, but I'm very interested.
Well, acceptance and openings are the beginning of everything, as we know. The awareness, and it goes from there.
Yeah.
And love is respect
Yeah.
and consent. So if you're operating in the right pathway, if you're doing the right living steps, you're present, you're respectful, you're asking if you can help, then you don't grab the dog and go, I'm going to fix you, beast. Then, it's a whole nother energy flow. And that causes those forced interventions, cause stagnation. They cause confusion. Cheryl, can you talk about how the gallbladder meridian runs up the back of the head and goes up and down so that the body can go yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, until it finally decides and then informs GV20 and says, hi, oh, it's okay what he's about to do.
Well, you just said it. Anyway, in Chinese medicine, the liver and the gallbladder regulate how things move. And when everything is in harmony, then you feel good. There's a free flow of things and there's acceptance. When you start getting agitated and there's any kind of blockage or stagnation that goes along this energy line, then you start getting more agitated and more hot. And physically, when things get hot, they rise to the surface. And the more they rise to the surface, the more energy the individual have in their mouth or their tonsils go like that. So the gallbladder meridian, which in Chinese medicine, the liver has to do with making long range decisions. The gallbladder has to do with little decisions like stepwise on what will I eat for lunch? How is that going to make me feel? What will I do tomorrow as compared to what is my goal in the future? So the gallbladder meridian starts at the side of the eye, goes down to in front of the ear, goes up toward the hairline, goes around down and around this way and this way, going to the back of your head, where I call it the yes points, and then goes down through your shoulder blades and down the sides of your body to your hips, where you could leap from, down the sides of your thighs, down to your back fourth toe or your fourth toe. And what happens when the gallbladder gets stuck, all the energy gets stuck there, and there's only sometimes one way you can go, and that's up or you freeze. And those are the times when you may be picking up, Brendan, the feeling of, hey, he's staring too long. So stare in the eyes have to do with the liver and gallbladder in Chinese medicine. Vision is a liver gallbladder aspect. So when you're dealing with all of this, you're dealing with liver and gallbladder. And when you start to feel the energy going down and you're going across the gallbladder meridian, at least on the head, then you can get agitation if there's a blockage going on there. Is that what you wanted me to say, Rick?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a little bit of information.
I appreciate that. Can I ask a question that I've always missed? I guess I've not really understood. And because we focus on diet a lot, almost at every other show to some extent, hot, cold, neutral foods. Some food makers are actually classifying their food, mostly raw companies, most companies that are trying to present, I guess a more appropriate alternative to kibble and processed foods. Can you speak to anything and how to understand that better? And
Oh, sure.
There's a whole section.
The whole section in the book. But what we're looking at is matching the foods to the constitution of the individual.
One thing that I find with all of this is that people would love to know more about the elements of their own animals and what the elements mean and how that might change behavior or training and activities that you do in your household.
Well, I have a whole course called Dogitudes and Catitudes that are on my website. And it talks about the different constitutions, where there's an earth constitution, which represents the spleen and the stomach, but the earth individual is family oriented. And the family oriented individuals tend to like food. The food is the biggest thing. So you have to worry about gaining too much weight or not having enough weight. So there are different foods that help the earth individual to balance out their metabolism. You have the individual who is a fire constitution, who would rather play than eat. And here you want to increase the cooling and the settling aspect. So I ask the people to look at what they know about animals in general, and the animals that we eat and the plants that we eat. The colors are also important. So the green colors and the leafy colors help the liver. The yellow colors and the squashes help the spleen and the stomach. Sweet potatoes are so good for helping constipation, diarrhea, and helping absorption, and they help the earth element. So there's like giant chapters in my book. And there are also wonderful books on the food therapy.
Yeah, but your book is definitely the pioneer. And
yes, it is. It's so full of it.
Yeah.
From a sustainability standpoint,
yes,
Chinese medicine, particularly doing energy, not even using needles, but using energy, is so great for the planet. And even better is if you start when you first get an animal, at whatever age they are, if you'll start right then in paying attention to what Cheryl talks about in the book and start doing this energy scanning so that you are preventing problems.
Absolutely.
So you won't have to go to the vet.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christina. Yeah, figuring out who your animal friend resembles as far as the different elements and the constitutions, and understanding how they're acting will help to prevent things from occurring. So if you have an animal who tends to get angry all the time and get frustrated all the time, then you may hone into, this is a wood individual with the liver and gallbladder, and what can I do to help support that liver gallbladder? And doing the energy scans is the first thing to do, and then looking for foods that sustain that. But thank you. The Chinese way and the energy way is the best for prevention, because once we get to a place where we can measure things on the blood panel and on the x-rays, it's gone far.
Thank you, Dr. Schwartz. How can our viewers get in touch with you?
Go to my website, drcherylschwartz.com. I also have a YouTube channel where there's a lot of freebie videos. And you can also email me at drschwartz@drcherylschwartz.
I want to leave you with a quote. No matter how much money and how few possessions you own, having a dog makes you rich. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, love your pets. Medical information obtained from our website or the live show is not intended to be a substitute for professional care. If your pet has or you suspect they might have an illness or other medical condition, you should consult a healthcare provider. The opinions expressed on this TV program are not necessarily those of Smart Pet Talk, this TV show, or their sponsors. For all questions or info on sponsorship, email us at info@smartpettalk.com or visit our website at smartpettalk.com.